Welcome to another episode of the Blade of Truth podcast. I'm Reagan Amos, and today we have a guest whose name is
Alan Middleton.
Alan Middleton. He is one of our members here, great member here at the Oxford congregation. And today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do kind of an interview, but also in this interview, what he does, and he'll explain it, we can actually see in Scripture, and we'll show how, using physical needs to reach out to the spiritual is very important. So today, we're talking about something called Bucket by Bucket. Alan, can you tell us a little bit about Bucket by Bucket?
Bucket by Bucket is a 501c3 charity that operates in, right now, Tanzania, East Africa.
Okay.
And what we do is we put water wells on church properties there.
Awesome.
Members of the Brotherhood there.
So there are a lot of water charities, but what makes Bucket by Bucket unique?
I think one of the two things, well, probably more than that, but two things that I like to focus on is one is the evangelistic part of it. If it weren't for the evangelism, I don't know that I would be doing this.
Right.
But, and we can get into our story a little bit later, but one of the things that hit me very early on before we started, because our first well was very providential, was the response people had to the gospel because of kindness.
Right.
And it should be intuitive. It's in the Bible.
Absolutely.
But it hit me. The other is we're an all volunteer organization in the U.S.
Okay.
I've got a lady that was an event coordinator at the University of Alabama. She puts on our benefit dinner in Tuscaloosa every year. We got guys taking care of our social media and our website, and all I do is cover their costs. If you have to buy an app or do this or that, and cover that. And of course, my family's all involved, and other people are involved, and we haven't cut a check for anybody yet.
Wow.
As far as a paycheck, and as long as I can stand it, that's the way we're going to operate.
Awesome. So, are these wells just in Tanzania, or are they in other places as well?
Just in Tanzania. We're hoping to expand out, but
okay.
We're small and we're growing.
Yeah.
Of course, COVID set us back a little bit, but we're moving forward again. As a matter of fact, a week and a half ago, we took possession finally after a 1.5 year process of our own drilling rig.
Okay.
So as we bring in money now, it'll go a lot further because it costs less to drill a well when you're using your equipment. Absolutely. Versus hiring somebody to come in and do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but right now we're only in Tanzania, but this model works all of sub-Saharan Africa, works in South America through the Andes, and it works in Southeast Asia.
Awesome.
It's what the World Health Organization calls economic water scarcity. So there's water there, but the average person can't afford to go get it.
Right. I'm going off script, so I'm actually curious about this. But is there a reason y'all started in Tanzania? Is there some sort of connection, or is it just like?
No, there's a connection. I'll go ahead and tell our story. I love our story. Northport's been involved in evangelistic work in Tanzania since 2004. Northport, with the congregation we were at previous to coming to Oxford, and I started going, and then the guy that was kind of leading and setting up and doing the trips left. And so I took over that work. And in 2015, we were getting ready to go. And before we go on a trip, we raise funds and we petition other congregations to help us and this and that. Yeah. But people come up to me all the time and they'll stick a check in my pocket or money in my pocket. And I never look if you hand me a check and it's for missions or bucket, I don't look at it. I'll look at it later.
Right.
It's awkward to me.
Yeah, it's same. Yeah.
And so he stuck a check in my pocket, and brother walked up and stuck a check in my pocket. He said, "Do something good with this." I said, "Oh, we will." And normally that money is $5, $20, $100, and we buy Bibles with that.
Right.
I get home and open this check, and it's $10,000. So I'm like, what do I do with this? Because A, there's not that many Bibles in Swahili print that you can buy at one time for $10,000.
Right.
And
that's crazy.
So about 2 weeks before the trip, Cy Stafford, who ran the work in Tanzania for a long time, he was coordinator for a long time, called him, told him what happened. I said, "Look, we want to do something good." He said, "Well, let me pray on it." I said, "Well, I'm doing the same." And talked to a few people there, some of the native or indigenous preachers there. And we came up with put a water well in. And the congregation where we work normally and where we put the first well is right on the edge of very dry, arid country. There's banana plantations and rice fields and this. Right. Then there's this little band of sparser vegetation, and then beyond that it's brown. So we thought that'd be a good place to put a well. So we put a water well in, and it was a dug well, and got there, met with the people, picked out the spot. The well guy picked out the spot because we didn't know where to put it, and they started digging.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we left 2 weeks later, and we went on about our business doing the evangelistic campaign.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks later, when we left, they were still digging, but they had dug down a 3-foot hole. They were digging straight down. They dug so far you couldn't see them anymore. You could hear them down there, tink, 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 picking away. They had a little pick with the handle cut off, a shovel with the handle cut off, a hammer, and a cold chisel, and that's what they were digging that well with.
Wow.
And but anyway, after I got home, we started getting reports. Water, they hit water, good water, much water.
Yeah.
And so that's great. And then, we talked to them before we actually did it that this needs to be for the community, not just the members here.
Right.
And the church just function a little differently over there, and there's always somebody around the property. There's always members around somewhere doing something.
Okay.
And so people start coming to get water, and then, preacher called me and said, "Hey, the well's still doing great. Getting a lot of people from the village to come." And some of those people are now in Bible studies with some of the members. They built relationships and they're starting.
Absolutely.
And I got very excited about that. And then, within a few weeks, he started sending me pictures of baptism, and I'm like, and awesome. Then I got really excited. I'm laying awake at bed at night thinking, how do I repeat this?
Right.
Because I didn't have the money, and I'm not a very good fundraiser. I had a hard time going asking others for money to put in more wells.
Right.
And so after about 2 years of intensive study, reading a lot online about how to do something like this, a lot of prayer, we incorporated, and bucket by bucket got started.
That's awesome.
And what we did from then till now is we would raise funds and get enough for a well and go put in a well at another congregation. And we did that 11 times.
Yeah.
And then what we've had to do since, the reason we're excited about getting our own rig is go back to a lot of those dug wells, those early wells, and drill them to get to safe water.
Right.
Because the wells get contaminated.
Sure.
And over time.
So, are those some of the problems y'all face?
Yeah, that's early on. That was the biggest problem we have. We had the water tested periodically, and so just to back up a little bit, talk about an organization. Nobody in the U.S. gets paid. We're all volunteer staff. However, to be a recognized NGO, which is like a charity in Tanzania, the Tanzanian government makes you have 3 employees, dedicated office space, and some office equipment. And so, fortunately, the guy I had talked to and agreed to be my coordinator over there and handle the projects, he had his own business, and he had a container at his house. So we took the end of that container, made an office. He and his wife became employees.
Yeah.
And then we hired a girl that's office all the time to man the phones and run errands to the bank and do different things.
Yeah.
So we had 3 employees, so we were good to go.
Right.
And so that's our staff, really. Our paid staff is all over there. And compared to an American salary, it's not even close. But that's what we've done until now, with the exception of course, COVID. We lost a year and a half. And then since we started trying to raise, it's been about 2.5 years since we started raising money to buy our own rig. We paid for it about a year and a half ago, and for them to refurbish it and then ship it and get it through customs, we finally got it the other day. So we haven't done a lot of activity, but all of the first 4 wells which were dug, we've gone back and drilled because one of them's still good water, so we continue to use it. But,
cool.
That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, awesome. I know I said one of the challenges was the contaminated water.
Yeah.
Are there any sort of other challenges, maybe people challenges? Are there?
We've had challenges with really only one place. We had a challenge. Well, talk about the other one later because it's just a technical challenge. But we had one village where we had to kind of abandon because there was some kind of internal political conflict, and the well was getting sabotaged because one of the people that one side didn't like was a member.
Were they like poisoning it?
No, they were just filling it up because it's just a hand pump.
Oh, okay.
And they were filling it up with rocks till it would foul, and then it wouldn't work. And 3 times we had the well company come out and pull everything out and redo it. And then finally it was just like I told the preacher, I said, we can't do this.
So they're basically, instead of bringing life and water to their village, they're going to allow politics.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of familiar.
It sounds a little bit familiar, unfortunately. People are the same no matter where you go.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So, and then the other one that we had was we always have a geological survey. The government employee who does that comes out and surveys that property just to make sure there's water there.
Wow. Okay.
And we had a place, and he surveyed, and he came back and said, "There's good water here. You go this deep, you should hit water." We never hit water. We drilled way past depth, and we never hit water. So, which is an expensive failed venture because when you're hiring a contractor to do that, he's still got to be paid. So
right.
But yeah, the challenges have mostly been not big, not showstoppers.
Yeah.
Most village leaders are very excited to have us there.
Yeah. Good.
And then the community is of course, they're benefiting from it, so they're very excited to have us there.
Right.
And since we've started and been working through this process, that level of support has kind of gone up. The government there, you have your village leaders, and then you have your district leaders, and you have your regional leaders, and you get to the government, the national level.
Yeah.
And all the way up to the Minister of Water at the national level now. They know who we are. They know what we do.
How about that?
And they're very supportive of us.
Awesome. Let me ask you this: How do you integrate the gospel into this type of work?
Well, that's like I said. That first well, when we started having Bible studies and baptisms from it, everywhere we go to put in a well, we sit down and we talk to that congregation and we say, "Look, we're doing this because it's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit the community. But here's the point."
Yeah.
And to date, they embrace that very, very heartily.
Yeah.
And we've had the same result. Every well we put in, even the one that we eventually abandoned because of vandalization, we've had good results.
Wow. So basically, you're saying the Bible is true when it says, in Galatians 6, do good to all, especially those in the household of faith.
Right.
So oftentimes, using physical means can bring them to the spiritual. I know some people, they may or may not like, oh, well, we're spending money on this. It's like, wait a minute. You see that throughout the entire New Testament.
Absolutely. And it's a very natural African way for people to come together.
Sure.
Because they go get water every day from somewhere.
Right.
And during the dry season, there's a lot of side benefits to this. During the dry season, two things can happen. One, they can use drip irrigation to grow food, which they couldn't do before.
Right.
And when I say dry season, it rains in Africa in what would be our spring a lot. I mean, it pours, and then it turns off, and for 5 months there's not a drop of rain.
Wow.
And so obviously you're not going to grow a garden in that kind of condition.
Yeah.
And then the short rains come, which it rains but not as much, and then you have another break through the winter, and then in the spring the rains come again.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, as the surface water dries up, which is what most of rural Tanzania, even western and southern Kenya, that part of Africa, once you get away from the cities, it's that's what they survive on. It's surface water, ponds, creeks, lakes. As that dries up through the dry season, you have to walk further and further and further. Well, in that culture, it's the women and the young girls' responsibility to get water every day.
Yeah.
So if you've got a girl of school age and she's going 3 miles to get water every day, she's not going to school. So that's solved that problem for a lot of families.
Right.
And I forget where I was going with this, but there's just a lot of benefits to the way this impacts the community and the household of faith. The Christian obviously are benefited from it in two ways. One, they're being edified by the water, because I mean, life starts with water. Everything is about that.
Absolutely.
And then it helps them in their evangelistic efforts to reach their fellow man.
Yeah.
And it's a different culture. You've been abroad. It's they're not quite as closed door as we tend to be here in the States.
Right. Yeah. It reminds me of John chapter 4. There's a well there.
Yes.
Jacob's well, and she has to go there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy because it's like the physical helps bring people.
Right.
And she comes, and then Jesus offers her, well, he asks for a drink, but then eventually, like you said, it naturally just happens.
Yeah.
And you see that in John 4. And so naturally, he goes from physical water to spiritual water. And so that seems to be a really big rule of thumb for you guys too.
That's a big part of what we do.
Yeah.
If it weren't for being able to further the gospel with this effort, with my full-time job and everything, conditions like that, I don't know that I would do it. Not because I don't want to help people, But there's a lot of water charities out
Yeah.
there. I could give money to a water charity and
Right.
just provide water.
Right. Right.
But our interest is providing the gospel.
So it's not just giving. Ooh, you talked about irrigation. This just hit me. But you talk about irrigation, the drip irrigation, correct?
Yeah.
So at the same time, you don't want just to irrigate their crops. You want to irrigate their lives
That's
so
right.
they can produce fruit for the kingdom.
Yeah.
And so I think that's awesome. I think we have like one or two more questions here. So you kind of, one of them was, how does Bucket by Bucket complement other kingdom works in Tanzania, or does it create competition?
Yeah.
We didn't hit that one yet. So.
It complements very well.
Yeah.
There's a group, the Manna Project, Gage
Mhm.
Coldwater out of Oklahoma currently, I think.
Yeah.
And they teach farming. They teach people to
Okay.
be
That's good.
self-sustained.
That's huge.
And
Yeah.
so we've actually done a water project for them, and they're looking at doing another one
Right.
for them. Of course, it's all money based. But
Mhm.
and then Andrew Connolly School of Preaching, which is in Arusha, Tanzania.
Mhm.
Yeah, Arusha's close enough.
Yeah.
And they train preachers and plant churches.
Yeah.
And if we can come behind them and give them this tool,
Sure. Yeah.
there's nothing but glory to God
Yeah.
on that.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that you not only bring it in, but you also teach. And we've talked about this too. There's a huge difference between helping and enabling.
Yes.
You know, we often talk about, you can bring fish to a village, but teach them to fish.
That's right.
So I think that's great that y'all are helping, not just enabling. So
Right.
I think, and that's a big rule of thumb, in the kingdom, because we need to be stewards of what God gives us, but also in sharing that, like, share all of it. Don't just say, hey, you're going to be relying on me. And it's almost like this power type thing.
No.
And that's not how it
No,
should
we
be.
want to give them the well, give them the,
Right.
and then it's theirs. They
Sure.
they can
Sure.
steward it.
That's great. I love that. Last question, then we can kind of go into like
Okay.
Devo style type
All
thing.
right.
But why don't you put wells in the center of the village versus at the congregational place?
Well, I've had that conversation a lot because that's what most water charities do.
Mm-hmm.
What's most concentric to the people.
Sure.
But the evangelistic part happens because they come in contact with the church.
Right. Absolutely.
And they understand, and when they understand that the church there, because it's really them. Once we do the project and install the well, we're kind of out of it.
Yeah.
That the Christians there are interested in helping them without recompense, without agenda, without it puts a different light a little bit on.
Sure. Yeah.
There are other religions in country that have wells on their property, but there are conditions to the use of that well.
Gotcha.
And other than overusing or abusing, we don't have any.
Yeah, that you said, they've got other, agendas behind it and everything. I think that's really neat that it's more so we want souls to be saved, not you scratch my back, I scratch yours type thing. But, that reminds me, going back to John chapter 4, is that he talks about living water, but then, she comes there, he knows where she's going to be. And so it happens naturally, but it reminds me of John chapter 1, verse 39. I'll just turn there actually, since I've got my Bible right here. But in John chapter 1, verse 39, if you have your Bibles with you, you can turn with me. But if you're driving, try not to do that. That'd be awkward. But in verse 39, I'll just read verse 38. Then Jesus turned and seeing them following, said to him, what do you seek? They said to him, Rabbi, which is to say, when translated, teacher, where are you staying? He said to them, come and see. So it's almost like you building them in certain spots. You're almost like saying, come and see. There's something. And I think that's neat, in Matthew 28, verse 19, we're to go into all the world. And you guys are going, but at the same time, like, you're saying, come and see. And I think that's really neat. Any thoughts you got there? Or I'll just kind of dive into other stuff.
No, it's really that's what we do. I mean, that's our modus operandi, as it were. We are there to provide a tool, provide a useful thing that the congregations can use to further the gospel. And Tanzanian people, and I'm sure it's this way other places, are very naturally, once they become a Christian, because you hardly ever meet a second generation Christian in Tanzania. Gotcha. And they're all converts. Right, and once they realize the truth of the gospel and what it means to their life, they're very excited to share it.
That's great. Also, kind of talking about the physical and the spiritual, in Mark chapter 2, there's a paralytic, and he comes to Jesus, and Jesus yes, he helps him spiritually, but he also helps him physically.
That's right.
In Matthew chapter 23, this is a big one. This is, the day of judgment. And this one hits me. And I heard a preacher say something so crazy. He said, if you want to see Jesus, go to the person on the street who needs food. If you want to see Jesus, go to the person who needs clothing. Like, if you want to see Jesus, I'm like, man, that hit. Because in Matthew chapter 23, he talks about, not Matthew 23, Matthew 25, excuse me. He says this, verse 31, when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the holy angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. And all the nations before him, he will separate them one from another as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And then he goes on to say in verse 34, then the king will say to those on his right hand, come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Here it is. For I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. Mm-hmm. And I was a stranger, and you took me in. Do you know all these people when you go in?
Oh, no.
No. But they're a stranger, but you take them in. It's like, I think that's so neat is, especially in America, everyone just, you talk about closed doors. Those closed doors have created this attitude, this atmosphere and culture of, I don't know you, I don't want to talk to you.
Right.
But y'all are going to not just new people, but like a whole foreign culture, land, all that. I just think that's so neat. But then they're not stranger anymore.
That's right.
I think that's so neat with the power of Christ is one day you're a stranger, the next day you're a brother.
That's right.
Or a sister. I think that's so cool. But he says all those things. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison, you came to me. And then they say, how did we know that? He said this in verse 37. Then righteous will answer him saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? The king will answer and say to them, assuredly, I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me. I think that's so powerful. I mean, it's almost like we're seeing beyond stranger and trying to see, looking beyond skin and seeing soul.
That's right.
Looking beyond stranger and seeing Christ. I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, there's two things that probably, I guess, would say drives me.
Yeah.
And one is, and you'll know where it's at, is the verse that says to know to do good and not is a sin.
Yeah.
And once this was in front of me, there wasn't really an option for me not to do it.
Right.
I just had to figure out how.
Sure.
And then the other thing is I feel like I get more out of this than I will ever give. I have a much better understanding when the Bible talks about the kingdom now than I ever did before I got into this work. Sure. Because everywhere you go, there's a church family there. Yep. And
it's powerful.
They treat you that way, and it's very powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he goes on and says to the goats, he says, you didn't do these things. So I think that's so powerful. But also like meeting people where they are. It's cool when you go to these different countries and they may look different. They may have different cultures, but we're all the same.
That's it.
And I just think that's so powerful. I just love how Christ unites all people from all nations, and we serve the same King. But meeting people where they're at, you talk about in Africa, in Acts 8, there's the Ethiopian eunuch. Philip goes to his chair. He goes to him, right? Right. And Acts 17, Paul goes to Athens, and he's going to these people. It's like, we need to go. Yeah. We're not going to save souls just staying.
If I may wax philosophical for a moment.
Hit it.
One of the things that has become very real to me, both through this work and just getting older and more mature in my faith, is we drive a stake in the ground, i.e. a brick and mortar building, and we say, this is where you need to be, come to this. And that's not what I read about in the New Testament.
That's right.
You meet people where they are and you bring them to the truth. And I think that's one of the reasons we struggle mightily in the U.S. with our evangelism efforts, because we want people to come to us, and we've got to go to them.
And I talk about this all the time. I'm a big Pirates of the Caribbean fan. I don't know if you've seen those movies. Oh, they're good, aren't they? Yes. But with the Flying Dutchman in Pirates of the Caribbean, if you hadn't seen it, you need to get cultured and see it. But so in this pirate ship, Davy Jones is the captain, and they're cursed. And one of the curses, they have to be at sea for 10 years, and they can only come to land, I think, once every 10 years. So it's a pretty crazy curse. But they stay on that ship for so long, and on the sea, they become like a part of the ship. Right. And so it's almost happened in the church that we're more concerned with the pews than we are people. And we're so attached to the four walls, it's more like we've become the building rather than the actual church, and going out and venturing off to different lands, if you will.
Right.
And I just kind of think part of the building now. It's like part of the building, part of the crew,
I'd
part of the ship,
agree with
part of the
that.
crew. You know, so it's kind of sad. The church was never meant to be confined to four walls.
No.
So I think that's a good point you made there. Any other thoughts you want to share with us about Bucket by Bucket?
We covered your prayers. Please pray for us, our effort to continue to be successful. If you're looking for an effort to support, just go to our website, www.bucketbybucket.org, and you can investigate us further. And if you so desire, there's a link there to give, because and every dollar goes to a well. We have someone taking care of our overhead currently, and so every dollar does go to a well. So if that's the kind of organization you're looking for, do that. The other is listen to others. I said this in an interview I did in Tanzania. You never know when a really good idea is going to come from somebody you didn't expect it to. And every idea is a good one till you prove it not.
That's good.
So listen to others, and continue to listen to this podcast.
What a guy!
Because I enjoy it.
I appreciate
I really
that.
do.
I really appreciate that. You know, going off what you said, talk about different tools, and we can end with this unless you want to add to this. But Winston Churchill said, "Give us the tools, and we'll finish the job."
Right.
You know, we've all got different tools. Some are able to go to Tanzania and do this, but giving to those works at the same time, that can be a tool. Like we all have different tools in how we do that. And here's the thing, like, and I try to practice this, when people come by for food and for water, though, bottled water, I guess that, but anyways, one big thing I do is, I ask them, how you doing spiritually? We want to help you with this, but if we just slim down or shrink it down to just say, oh, well, I've got you some saltine crackers, I've got you tuna, like, what's the chunky soup? Remember Donovan McNabb, the football player's chunky? Anyways, if we just do that, we're just allowing them, or just give them water and don't give them the spiritual, we're allowing them to go to hell on a full stomach.
Yeah.
If we don't give them the gospel, and that's the whole point of what this interview is giving them the gospel, because we can feed them physically, but eventually that food is digested and it passes. Yeah. It's got to go beyond that. And so I just love that it's more of the spiritual, but one of the ways we get to the spiritual is the physical. So I think that's really neat. So
a preacher told me a long time ago, and I considered him a pretty wise man, that people don't care how much you know, so they know how much you care. And that is proven extremely true.
Sure. Absolutely, man. Alan, I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Reagan.
And I appreciate the organization, the work y'all do.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Man, thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of the Blade of Truth podcast. Thank you so much for reaching out, the questions, the support. I'm getting more and more comments and suggestions, so y'all keep those coming at any of our socials. Again, we have our email at thebladeoftruthpodcast@gmail.com. So if you have questions, anything you want to add, please feel free to email us there, or just message us on Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make today great. Good stuff, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.